Okay, so again, welcome to the 2019 Centerville High School Varsity Banquet. Again, I apologize for the postponement of it, but I had to obviously deal with some own personal issues. I'm going to give a quick recap on the season, and then Coach Campbell and I will hand out our awards for the year. First of all, it was like Mr. O'Brien said, it really was a great season for the golf team. Looking back, we actually made regionals for the first time in, to be honest with you, we don't know how many years. I called the office of the athletics office today, the PSA and the ADSA, and they said, we're not going to show. And we'll just say about 5 to 6 years, and he's like, it's not. So it's been a while, so we've had a really, really good year. I'm going to go through it real quick. Started off our season this year at the Charger Challenge at Pleasant Valley. We finished in that tournament 6th out of 15 teams. It seems like every time, you'll see the pattern as I say this. It feels like we finish in the top third to middle half almost every single time. Out of 15 teams, we finished as the 6th place team. Our top players in those days, I'll give you some scores and the players who played in those tournaments. Vinny shot a 78 on day 1 and a 72 on day 2 to finish as the girls runner-up, which she hates, I'm sure. Ong shot an 84 on day 1 and then back that up with 76 on day 2.
Oh, where, what?
Some other notable things that happened in the Charger Challenge. Chris Cipolla got his first action as a varsity golfer. Came in on day 2 to replace some people who we won't name right now. Chris shot a 92 in his first round as a varsity action, which is pretty impressive, especially in Pleasant Valley. Casey came in on day 2 to relieve someone and shot 5 to 6 shots better than that person with a 95. Not his best round ever, but good way to start the year off. And Mr. Shin had his first match ever on the varsity team. We won't get a score out loud. We won't tell the score. We all know the score. So that was our first match. That was our first tournament of the year. Didn't get rained out, shockingly, and wasn't too hot to play, so that worked out well. Our second tournament, I wasn't able to attend. It was the Herndon Invitational, which, if you did play in it, which 5 of you did, and I believe it was Lauren Wallace's second varsity action ever in the Herndon Invitational. I think so too. And as has been told from the golfers that played in it and Coach Campbell, who was there, it was not the most well-run tournament of the year. We were split up tee time, so everybody was all over the place. It was a very slow day of golf. I tried to look back and see what we finished in that tournament, but the gentleman who ran the tournament and the head golf coach at Herndon had already thrown out all of the scorecards and scoring from the Herndon Invitational. He did tell me we were in the top 5 teams that finished, so take that for what it's worth. Let's, going forward, we might have to skip the Herndon Invitational next year, if that guy's running it, as far as I'm concerned. Our third tournament of the year, remember golf season goes by quick. Our third tournament of the year was the Stallion Classic which as far as I'm concerned is the hardest golf course in the Northern Virginia area, Laurel Hill. At the Stallion Classic, there were 18 teams. We finished 8th out of 18 teams. The state champion was there. The state runner-up was there. The state third place team was there. I mean, there's some really good golfers in Northern Virginia. We played in those tournaments. At the Stallion Classic, we had some higher scores than we would have liked. We did have one person who had a very low score, a 76 by Vinny Chen, who won the tournament in a 3-hole playoff. And I will tell you, the most exciting part as a golf coach for me was not Vinny winning the whole thing, which is obviously awesome, because that happens a little bit often with Vinny. But the coolest part was not one kid left from the other 4 players. They were done. It was over. They knew Vinny was tied. They knew she was going to 3-hole playoff. And all 4 of the rest of them got on the cart with Coach Campbell and I, drove out and watched all 3 holes, which is really cool. And they backed her up. They were wanting to, what did you do here, Coach? What do you think she should do? And they were literally running up and down the cart paths, trying to get to the green and see what she was going to do next. It was really probably one of the coolest parts of the season. And when it was done and she won, then they got the cars left. But they were there the whole time for the 3-hole playoff, which was one of the most intense parts of the season. It was pretty cool. So then the next week we played, or 2 days later I believe, we played in the Patriot Invitational, which is at Bristow Manor. Patriot Invitational has the most teams of any tournament we play in. There's 26 teams in that tournament. We finished again in 8th place out of 26 teams. We had a very good showing at the Patriot Invitational. During that tournament, again, in back-to-back tournaments, Vinnie Chen won the girls' championship with a 74. I believe she won by 3 shots over the next closest person in that tournament. As a team, I said we finished in 8th place. We had a great round by Ong. He came out with a 76, the Patriot Invitational. Also, during the Patriot Invitational, we got to see some of the first golf ever by sophomore Kim, who came out with a very large number on his front 9. In fact, I can't even remember what it was. But on the back 9, he put up a 39 or 40? 39. 39 on the back 9, and it was fun golf to watch. Also in that tournament was Josh Sa, so we had our first junior, had his first match, I believe, as a varsity player. What?
All my other matches, past years are always down.
So he played his first match, didn't have the best round of his life, but he got some very valuable experience that will help us next year, the years coming forward. After those 4 tournaments, those are our 4 tournaments. Okay, so as you know, in golf, we play 4 tournaments, and we have a couple district matches that actually don't mean anything because they don't seed us in any way with those. So they're actually just for us to get some work and play against the people who seed districts. We had 2 district quad matches, one at Oakton and at Army-Navy Country Club, and one here. We did not win the district matches, but as I said before, those are just matches basically for practice to get to know who you're going to be playing against in districts. Also, we got some young players in those district matches. We had, I believe, our only freshman, Claire Nasser, I believe, played in the Westfield tournament. We had here at Westfield. And we had some others play at the Army-Navy one that had never played in some matches before for some valuable experience. Then we went on to districts, which was by far the best part of the year, other than watching the boys ball and video at Static Classic. So at districts was a 2-day tournament we had at Twin Lakes. Last year, if you remember last year's district championship, it was raining sideways, and we were going to play this way, and we got out 3 holes, and people were soaking wet. They stopped after 1 day. We had to wait 2 or 3 days. I think a week one time we had to wait. And then they were going to make it a 1-day tournament, and then they made a 1-day tournament, and last year we didn't fare as well. This year, we had good weather. It had a 2-day tournament. On day 1, Almer came out and shot a 76. Vinny threw up a 77. Liam had an 89. Chris Cipolla had an 89. Mookie had a 90. And Drew had a 98. So, we were able to cut 2 of those scores. We were able to cut 2 of those scores, which gave us a really good score. 76, 77, 89, 89 had us 2 shots behind Oakton for 2nd place. And on day 1, this is the truth. On day 1, they told me there was only 2 teams from districts going to regionals. It was not even said 3 teams were going to regionals. So I was like, okay, we're 2 shots behind Oakton. We can make up 2 shots tomorrow. We just need some people to step up. So, as coaches do, we made some roster changes, some lineup changes. We added Casey to the lineup on day 2. And on day 2, Liam came out with his best round of the year, which I know he would have rather had about 3 or 4 more times during the season. But he threw up his best round of the year with a 76. Tied Vinny with a 76, so that's 2 76s. All had 84, and Mookie had his best round to date with an 86. So those 4 scores, and then Christopher Cipolla also came up with a 91, and Casey threw up a 94.
Thanks.
Which, all valuable experience, but again, we were able to cut 2 of our high scores, but the 4 that we were able to keep were really good scores. We ended up, after the 2nd day, finishing in 3rd place, losing to Oakton for 2nd place, which at that point we knew we were in, by 4 shots. So we only finished by 4 shots back of Oakton for 2nd place in the regional, to go to regionals in the district, which is something I know this school hasn't done very well. So that was awesome by the team of districts. At districts, We finished well ahead of Westfield, which is always good. This is by far the one sport in Centerville kicks the crap out of Westfield. And I think we will continue. So, after districts, we were lucky enough to be able to go to districts. We qualified for regionals. After districts, we qualified for regionals. Sadly, regionals is usually held at a very nice golf course. Like last year was at Hidden Creek, where Ong and Vinny got to go last year for regionals. This year, the regionals were held at Herndon Centennial, where if you remember my spiel about the other Herndon thing, you know it's not the greatest golf course in the world. Also not the hardest golf course in the world. According to me, according to them, it's really, really, really hard. But those of us that played Herndon know it's pretty open. So, on day one of regionals, we started off on fire. Vinny shot a 74. Moogie shot his next best round of an 84. Ong had an 85. Liam threw up a 95. Chris had 100 and Casey had 106. So, not the best effort we had, but again, we're in regionals. And as I said, I was telling Ong's parents and Vinny's parents, we were at regionals with Langley, Madison, Marshall. Those three teams are some of the toughest teams, not only in Northern Virginia, in the state of Virginia. Okay, so we ended up finishing 7th, okay, at the regionals out of 8 teams. We beat Wakefield. Okay, we lost to Oakland by a couple of strokes, but we finished 7th. And again, did I want to make it? Did I want to win it? Did I want to get better results in the championship? Of course I did. But to finish in regionals in the 7th place, and you've got the state championship Langley, and for those parents that don't know about Langley, Langley probably has 6 kids who shoot sub 70. Okay, and you know, these kids can go low on a golf course, and we hung with them, we played with them, we were paired up with them. We even hit some of them in the back with the golf balls. So. It was a cool experience for them. And again, no, that one was off the top of my head. But again, the coolest part about it was after day one, I told some of the guys that I wanted to bring back, some people who hadn't had a chance to play much of the season. And again, we got to have Jason Shin came back out on day 2, Drew Kim came back out on day 2 to get some valuable experience for the future. And they all stayed and hung around. Again, it was for Vinny, but they all stayed and hung around because they wanted to see how Vinny ended up in the regionals and how she was going, if she was going to make it to states or if she was not going to make it to states. And of course, when you shoot a 74 on day 1 and a 75 on day 2, you make it to regionals. You make it to regionals and you finish in the top 8. You make it to states. Vinny finished in the top 8 individuals in the region at the regional tournament, and as I said, we're talking boys and girls. You finish in the top, like this is all co-ed, so she finished in the top boys and girls, the best golfers in the state of Virginia at that regionals in order to qualify, and she had her choice at that moment whether she wanted to qualify for boys states or girls states, and she chose to go to girls states, which is probably a good choice, and she fared very well there. We'll talk about that. So we were able to send someone from the regionals to the states as well. We didn't get to do it as a team. Maybe in the future we will, but we were able to send Vinny to the states after regionals. After regionals, we had a very long break. For some reason, they take girls states and the girls Northern Zone qualifier a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before it even happens, which is odd. During that long break, Lauren and Claire attempted to qualify for the Northern Zone qualifier, which is the region Vinny got to skip because she finished in the top 8 regionals. And sadly on that day, it was about 45 degrees, 50-mile-an-hour winds, a little bit of rain here or there. I mean, it was just a really terrible day to play golf. And Claire and Lauren went out and tried their best. They changed it in the past. In the past, you only had to shoot you had to break a 50 in order to make it to the girls' Northern Zone qualifier. This year they changed it from a 50 to a 45, which is a huge jump if you think about it. 5 shots in golf is a lot. And they both broke 50, but didn't break the 45. They both will have a chance next year again, as will Kimberly and Jane, because they'll be playing it next year no matter what they say. So then after the Northern Zone qualifier with Lauren and Claire, we had a couple other weeks to wait, and we had the girls' state championship. Coach Campbell and I both went down with Vinny and her parents to Harrisonburg, and the course they played the girls' state championship was Heritage Oaks, which is a very nice course right across the street from Harrisonburg High School. It was gorgeous. It was an absolutely perfect day to play golf. And Coach Campbell's dad actually came and followed us for 18 holes. I was live tweeting every shot she was making on every hole. And again, the boys were surely in school learning, but were texting back to me saying, "Hurry up, tweet what happened on the last hole." I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't keep up as fast as it was going. But anyway, at any rate, she finished with a 69 for a round at the Girls State Open, which is phenomenal. After she finished, we walked over to the scoreboard, and she was the leader by, I think, 2 or 3 or 4 shots. And there were still groups out on the course. And she knew who was out on the course, and she knew who they were, and she's very good friends with all of them. But she was leading the state tournament for probably half an hour, 45 minutes, and we were pacing back and forth, drinking Gatorade, eating beef jerky, and just waiting for the other girls to come in. And some of the girls that came in after her had probably the rounds of their careers. As we drove down the 18th hole, one girl was one shot back to Vinny, stuck a hybrid to within 2 feet for eagle on the 18th hole on a par 5, and made the putt for eagle to leapfrog Vinny by 1 shot. And then the girl in the last group that came in after her shot a 64. So Vinny ended up finishing in. Vinny could have shot 64 that day too. She easily could have shot 64. But after they had all come in and it was all said and done, Vinny finished in 5th place, which is a medalist and an honor for her. I'll honestly say the best golfers there, and Chris and I were amazed. I mean, it's totally different watching golf at the state championship level than it is watching golf on a daily basis at the regular district level. Let's put it that way. It was amazing to see some of the shots that they were. But the top 7 finishers at the girls' states, and there was, how many total people there? 75, 60,
69.
Out of 70 golfers, the top 7 were from Northern Virginia, and I believe almost except 2 were from our district. So it was shocking to see all of Northern Virginia represented in the top 7. It was great. And then that basically ended our season. It was a great way to finish the season. Like I said, going to regionals was the highlight for the seniors. I'm glad they all got to go and play in the regionals. Vinny going to states, finishing 5th her senior year. Obviously, you want to win it your senior year, but at least medaling your senior year is an awesome experience. It was great for Chris and I. So that's a recap of our season.